Minister of Human Settlements, Siboniso Duma, revealed this during a media briefing today, where he was giving an update on the current placement of families who were evicted from Bayside Hotel. About 150 flood victims found themselves stranded yet again due to late payments to the hotel earlier this week. Department spokesperson Nhlanhla says they've since provided alternative accommodation for the affected families.
The MEC has announced that the department has bought a building that belonged to Transnet, the Montley Lodge. About 34 million has been paid to Transnet, and the building has been transferred to the department.
The Council for Medical Schemes says it will take legal advice to whether black medical practitioners can launch a class action suit against 3 medical aid schemes for discrimination. This week, a Section 59 inquiry in terms of the Medical Schemes Act ruffled feathers in the industry for its findings that black doctors were 1.4 times more likely to be deemed to be committing medical aid fraud, waste and abuse than other ethnic groups. The Council told Parliament's Health Committee that it will convene a special council meeting tomorrow to interrogate the findings. Lindsay Datlinger reports.
The Council for Medical Schemes says it will be setting up advisory panels to probe the findings of the Section 59 report and how to address them. The Council's legal head, John Letswalo, says it may also be necessary to investigate the human element involved in the algorithms used by medical schemes that flag black professionals for fraud. Letswalo says it also needs to be determined whether a legal case can be mounted to compensate those who have been discriminated against and those who've even lost their livelihoods.
We are also testing legally, internally as a regulator, whether could the Equality Court have jurisdiction to adjudicate on some of the issues that individual practitioners may want to institute against individual schemes.
The Council says it will take at least 4 weeks to deliver a comprehensive response to the panel's findings. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And older people are increasingly being targeted by online scammers. That's according to new research by academics in South Africa and the UK. Dr. Suleiman Lazarus, a sociologist from the University of the Western Cape, worked with experts from the University of Surrey and the University of Portsmouth to uncover how criminals are deliberately preying on the elderly. The study found that scammers are banking on the idea that older adults are not as tech-savvy as younger generations, making them easier targets. UWC Communications Officer Harriet Box says the researchers are urging older people to take steps to protect themselves.
Dr. Lazarus advised senior citizens to pause and question everything and to always seek a second opinion. He advises older people to talk to children or grandchildren or someone they trust, and he recommends not being tempted to act immediately when asked for personal information.
In your weather, Gauteng can expect clear skies on Monday, Johannesburg dropping to overnight lows of 5 degrees, peaking at 21, Pretoria 7 and 22, Vereeniging 6 and 20 degrees, Cape Town will be partly cloudy at a low of 6, rising to 15 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, suspension is mounting as the hour for President Ramaphosa's address on security matters draws closer.
Eyewitness News, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, log on to ewn.co.za or the new EWN app.
702 on 92.7 and 106 FM.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app
And on DSTV channel 856.
Good evening. It's 6 minutes past 7. Welcome to a Prime Media News special. We're coming to you live on Radio 702 Cape Talk. You can also watch us live. I hear people are already lined up on Prime Media Plus and, of course, on EWN's YouTube page. Feel free to also engage with us. This is a 2-hour special as the country waits with lots of suspense to hear from President Cyril Ramaphosa on security concerns in our country. We are worried. We're facing a policing crisis, and we are hoping to hear from the President answers to many, many questions and concerns that I feel South Africans have this evening. It was, of course, on this day a week ago when KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, clad in his special ops uniform, took to the public, sending the country ricocheting. He made a series of damning allegations against the top brass in the police, as well as the Minister Senzo Mkhunu. There's been much speculation. You heard that in the news as well, where Floyd Shivambu says that there's no way the president could not know what is going on. But really, the person who's tasked with steering us as a country, with wading through these waters, is President Cyril Ramaphosa. I've been looking at the television screens. I see he's arrived at the Union buildings. We were told he'll address the nation at 7. Lo and behold, they're running late. They've pushed the clock now to 7:30. Are you surprised? I'm not surprised. What are your expectations? We are expecting to hear from him. What do you want to hear from the president? What are your expectations? As I said, lots of speculation. If you read the papers today at all, there's lots of theories going about in terms of what we should expect to hear when the president finally speaks to us. You can call us, you can WhatsApp or send voice notes. If you want to call in and weigh in on this, on 011 883 0702 021 446 0567. That's to call in. Or you can send a voice note or a WhatsApp on 072 702 1702. On my end, I'll be joined by various guests this evening as we look to what the president says and dissect the message that he leaves the Republic with. I'll be joined by Professors Gidiboni Pako, who's already here in studio with me, as well as Professor Kagiso Powe, who'll be on Zoom a little bit later on. For now, though, we wait, we speculate, and we speak to some of EWN's top reporters to understand how we got here.
Because this journey is better taken together.
Let's walk the talk. 702.
As I said, we are waiting to hear from our number one citizen in terms of what the way forward is. When you listen to damning allegations that came out of Police Commissioner General Mkhwanazi last week, there's no way your jaw was not on the floor. There's no way you were not shell-shocked as a citizen in a country where we are worried about the crime rate in our country. I'm joined in studio by EWN's Oren Singh. Oren is our number one crimesman. If there's questions about what's happening in the police, the first person I go to is generally Oren Singh. Oren, you and I keep saying this, and I said this to you during the week, we were not surprised per se. Maybe the how far Mkhwanazi took it, sure, but you and I weren't surprised to hear of another chapter as far as policing. Let's speak about how we got here.
Yeah, I think not surprised in the least, TD. We sat down with General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi in April, where he made a lot of these allegations to us about the certain individual from the Northwest, Brown Mkhwanazi, who's been meddling in police matters. He's been meddling in high-profile police investigations. But I think on Sunday last week, we just saw a little bit more, and General Mkhwanazi gave us more insight into what the extent of this meddling goes. And it goes far as Mkhwanazi suggesting that this Brown Mkhwanazi was working with a alleged criminal, an alleged underworld figure in Gauteng, someone who has been arrested and has appeared in court, Vusi Kat Matlala. He's been implicated in the Tembisa hospital scandal, the multi-billion rand Tembisa hospital scandal, and he's been arrested for a possible assassination or an alleged assassination attempt on his ex-socialite lover, Tebogo Tobejane. And there seems to be some sort of communication that Mkhwanazi alludes to and provides the media with proof on Sunday last week that there were messages exchanged between this Brown Mkhwanazi and Vusi Kat Matlala to try and get rid of crime intelligence head Dumisani Khumalo, who we saw arrested 2 weeks ago, alongside 6 others, as well as General Mkhwanazi himself. But he also goes further to show that there were payments, alleged payments made from Vusi Kat Matlala of an amount of 111,000 rand to this Brown Mkhwanazi. Now, at the end of the day, TD, this is all allegations and evidence that needs to be tested. Everything that Mkhwanazi came out with explosive allegations going up against Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, saying that he is protecting certain individuals, that he's aware of this meddling and that this Brown Mkhwanazi is a close associate of him, with Mchunu later coming out to say that he's not an associate, he's just a comrade from the Northwest. Lieutenant General Shadrack Sabir, the Deputy National Commissioner for Crime Detection in the country, explosive allegations against him, and Mkhwanazi going out and saying, I will not concede to a criminal. So a lot of stuff that needs to be tested, and we expect that President Cyril Ramaphosa has met with the relevant people and had these discussions this week, and we're just waiting to see what's the outcome.
I want to ask about the political killings unit and the work that it does, because that becomes a contentious thing. I cover politics here at EWN, at Prime Media, and one of the things that I know is it's almost like cycles, right? Particular election cycles, particularly local government. You start seeing the body's literally packing up as far as political killings are concerned. It is cause for concern, but it was being disbanded. Part of the question, again, that Mkhwanazi puts on the table is for nefarious reasons, in essence. It's got to do with the minister looking, in essence, ultimately, for his own personal interests. It's got nothing to do with the work of the units. That in and of itself has become part of the conversation. What do we know about the work the political killings task team did and the claims that it was just wasting money?
Yeah, Tshidi, I think this is where battle lines were actually drawn by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. He was very, very upset by the fact that this unit that has been formed by President Cyril Ramaphosa in 2018 was going to be disbanded. And there was a letter put out by Senzo Mchunu, the police minister, to have this unit disbanded. And that has not been acted on. We saw that General Mkhwanazi coming out last week, Sunday, and saying that despite all of these efforts to disband this unit, they continue to work. And so Mkhwanazi's political killings task team, who essentially answered to him in KZN, have been working alongside organized crime officials in Gauteng to try and uncover this massive criminal syndicate that is alleged to have captured police in the province. But the question is, Tshidi, I think, why now? Why now does this all come into play? We've seen a series of events unfold within SAPS. I mentioned earlier the arrest of the crime intelligence boss, Dumisani Khumalo. And it's interesting to note that General Mkhwanazi also chaired a disciplinary against the deputy head of crime intelligence, Feroz Khan. Recently, there have been issues between Dumisani Khumalo and Feroz Khan within crime intelligence. We know the issues within crime intelligence. And so why now? That's the question. We've seen all these things unfold. And I think right now, Tshidi, it's given us more questions than answers. And tonight we need to get some of those answers.
Some direction from the president. The conflict between Mkhwanazi and Sibiya, do you know where it comes from? What is the genesis? I mean, for one officer to stand before the country and call another criminal.
Tshidi, we caught on this earlier this year. There were rumors circulating within SAPS top brass that there were issues and tensions between certain high-profile senior officers. And we sat down with both Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi as well as Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya to find out where does this stem from, because those were the two names that were given to us in terms of tensions and battle lines being drawn between the pair. And Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya, let me first say, Tshidi, after sitting down with both of them, they both claim that they have no issues with each other. That's what they told us as far back as April. There's no issues with each other. We work well as police officers. We both decorated police officers in our field. But Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya suggests or claims that the issue and the tension started when he instructed Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi's deputy to come to Gauteng to brief the minister on developments in the murder of Kiernan, aka Forbes. Popular artist who was killed in Durban. Everyone, I'm sure, knows and is well aware of that case. And Mkhwanazi was upset by the fact that Shadrack Sibiya had called his deputy a case which Mkhwanazi was sort of not leading, I would say, but he was very much involved in it, and given that it happened in his province, and he wasn't consulted by Sibiya himself. And he felt that was a question or a conversation they should have had before his deputy was instructed to come and brief the minister in Gauteng. It's very petty if you think about it, Tshidi, that these two senior cops are fighting over something that they shouldn't be fighting over, given the state that we see SAPS in currently. But I think there's more to it. There's a lot more to it than just what the information we've been told. And we'll see how things unfold in the coming days.
All right, thank you so much. That's EWN's Orenson, giving us a bit of a background as to how we got here and what's at play behind the scenes. Again, we wait for the president. The president is due to address the country at about 7:30, address the nation on the ongoing police crisis. I have guests, as I said to you, I have two professors with me who will weigh in on what the moment means. We'll also speak about expectations. I'm seeing your voice notes. Before I go to the professors, I'm going to play a few of your voice notes in terms of your expectations.
Good afternoon, Tshidi. Good afternoon, Tshidi. Chief here. Tshidi, the president got this blood in his hand. Remember Pala issue. You can't deal with something that you are always be implicated to something. The president is implicated to Pala. Mchunu said iPad, they must steal the report. So you see, president, he's in trouble also himself. He's in trouble himself because Mchunu defended him with iPad. So how can he going to deal with Mchunu? President is also guilty. We can't run away from it. He's guilty also. The president is not innocent. He's not innocent. So that's why I'm concerned. Even the judicial, everything is messed up. It's messed up under this president. Everything messed up under this president. They're in trouble with this president, honestly.
Thank you so much. A very strongly worded voice note there about the president, because at the end of the day, even he gets judged by how he navigates these waters. It's not the first time. As I said, I am joined by two professors. It's not the first time, Professor Kidibone Paho, let me bring you in quickly. It's not the first time where the question mark becomes about the president and his leadership. It's not the first time on his watch that we've been confronted with question marks about what's happening in policing. We had a whole panel, as far a whole high level rather investigation into the 2021 unrest and what the police did or did not do. Your thoughts about what to expect and the fury that you heard there towards the president?
Yes, good evening, Tshidi, and thank you for having me. Good evening to the listeners at home and of course my colleague Professor Poe there. So Tshidi, this is quite important because if the president is the head of the executive, it means he has an obligation towards the country. And one of those things means that the president needs to understand that he needs to keep the country safe. So he must be assured of safety and security as citizens. And it means when we have something like this that has been brewing underground for so long, and the president comes out now and he tells us, I'm still going to bring few people around the table and want to understand. It really means that we are in deep waters and we are in our darkest moment as a country, and we really need to put a lot of pressure on the president so he can give us answers. This is not a small matter, and we need to keep him to task. So he has a whole lot of ministers around him, not only policing. He's got the state security agency, he's got the military, and they've got regular briefings. So he must tell us about those briefings and what has come out of that. So I think there's quite much more into what meets the eye from where we are sitting as a nation. So, and of course, we are expecting the president to tell us about the allegations made by General Mkhwanazi. But and of course, we are expecting the president to say that he's going to institute an inquiry.
Another inquiry, yeah. We have a lot of those.
But it is beyond the inquiry, and we've seen a lot of wasted resources around Zondo Commission, around the the SARS Commission, about you remember the Nugent Commission, the PIC commissions. We have not received any feedback whatsoever from the president in briefing us. And now we are heading for the national dialogue. Maybe this is just a national dialogue that we are having and we are not even aware.
Somebody last week did say, I think General Mkhwanazi has started the national dialogue that we actually require. Professor Poe, welcome to you as well. Thank you for joining us. What did the president know and what did the president not know is also a crucial conversation or question at this moment. And if he did not know, why does he not know what's happening in his country? Your thoughts about what you want to hear from President Ramaphosa this evening?
Well, evening, and thanks for having me. Look, just two things one would want to hear from the president. One, I think a firm admission that, listen, our security cluster it needs a total reform. You have to remember 2 weeks back, there was another, I think SAPS, the head of intelligence was arrested. And then we had the general, General Mkhwanazi. So look, these are not separate incidents. These are all part of a pattern and a code. And there's always a good study I refer to, I think the South African Bishops' Council of the Parliamentary Liaison Office, which in 2021 already stated that, listen, the higher up, there is a fight amongst the generals themselves. So already the president should have known about this and that this institution needs total reform. So what I want to hear the president say, first and foremost, for purposes of national security, is to say, listen, there is going to be a major intervention put into place for the intelligence services. And look, it's one of those things in South Africa. I think we become quite loose with what we mean by intelligence, but internationally, when this happens in other countries, governments fall. People have to step down and heads have to roll. But in South Africa, I think because we've got, let's say, crisis upon crisis, we've sort of made this quite normal. So this has to, the first thing the president that has to come out of his mouth is to say, listen, a major reform is happening amongst the intelligence. Now, usually how this goes about, and this is what I think what you're leading towards, is what does the president know? Let us not forget that he also has something hanging over his head, which is the issue of Phala Phala. So is he really the right individual to lead this reform? And here I'm reminded of what happened in El Salvador when their president, I think he's the most popular president by voting, he basically called parliament to, like what we're having today, this family meeting, and simply said, listen, everybody's is under investigating, including myself. And an independent body was placed there to simply go on and make a proper investigation. So to put it quite loosely, or let's be quite specific, everybody is guilty in government, including the president, until proven otherwise. That's what we want to hear. Secondly, look, in terms of what happens going forward with regards to, let's say, the whole of what's happening. Look, let's not forget the president cannot also go there and forget the fact that there are ministers who have routinely, because yes, he's going to suspend Minister Mkhwanazi, because I think that's, or he's going to find a flowery language to say suspension. But let's not forget, he's not the only person who's got something hanging over his head. So these are the two things I'd like to hear the president really get to: a reform of our intelligence structures, and the fact that, listen, everybody's guilty until an investigation, and not a commission of inquiry, but something which is in between, which can be quickly done, but which has to have proper, firm independence. Now, in countries like Malta, what they did is they actually called upon international people with these expertise to come in and say, listen, no one in the country, you and I would not believe any report that comes from government currently. So what we can believe is if external people come in with no vested interest in South Africa, and that's very hard considering everybody seems to have vested interest in our country except us. So that's the first thing. Then secondly, there does need to be suspension of not just Minister Mkhwanazi, but other ministers who've really, I think, let the country down. Because by doing this, by suspending and getting rid of other ministers, and here I'm not just speaking about the Minister of Higher Education, let's not forget we had a minister who was in justice, whose issue is still hanging but was simply moved around. We need to kind of have a new way of doing things. And I think that's what I would expect to hear. But when it comes to our president and this government, expectation should not be too high. The bar should be set at a very low level.
It's quite unfortunate. Often expectation falls short because I've always argued political expediency becomes part of the negotiation and the conversation. And you know who suffers? You and I. It's 25 minutes past 7. We are waiting to hear from the president. Spotlights firmly on the union buildings. Lots of expectations. And as Professor Powe said there, often we don't have those expectations being fulfilled. I'm going to play some of your voice notes. I'm taking in your expectations as well. 072-702-1702 for voice notes and WhatsApps. If you want to call in and chat to us, 011-883-0702, 021-446-0567.
It would be nice if the president surprises the nation. However, I feel like there is a large portion of us that are going to expect to hear the same thing. I am very shocked by these damning allegations. It's a serious matter, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, I don't think many people have their hopes too high today.
Good evening, TD. Thank you for the show. Those are here from Alberton. As we all wait, all I'm expecting is decisive action from the president. I hope that we get another Dirk Coetzee situation here, where he is protected as a whistleblower and decisive action is taken against the corrupt officials. Thank you for the show. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you so much for all those WhatsApps and voice notes and just your thoughts on what needs to happen. Professor Pacho, let me come back to you. The issue of the commissions, you mentioned them as well. For me, maybe we did get something out of the Nugent Commission because to some degree, SARS, the South African Revenue Services, feels like it's back to doing what it ought to be doing. But we're still sitting and looking at the Zondo Commission, for instance. The Arms Deal Commission left a lot of people unhappy. I think about, again, going back to what we're dealing with now, the immediate really, is the State Capture Commission, where a lot of those people, to a point maybe raised by Professor Powe, is that they still enjoy power. They still very much the political elite that's rehabilitated, that is protected, shifted from department to department. What do you say? I almost feel tired of going, oh my goodness, here we go again.
Yeah, so Tshidi, you are raising a very important issue. So there are two aspects to what happened to many of the investigations, especially those commissions of inquiry, following the state capture. The first part, which is very important, is to make sure that the NPA takes these cases, follow up, and make sure that there are, convictions. And that is what is strongly missing. The other part, indeed, and in terms of SARS, is that so far, I would argue, in fact, we had these conversations with my colleagues, that this is the only institution that has actually been recalibrated following the state capture. And it makes sense if you're looking at the corruption levels, because if SARS is dysfunctional, as it were made to be, then we are much likely to see our corruption levels going down, because it is only through SARS, by and large, that the corruption activities are actually propped up. But then if we look at many other institutions that were sort of captured, we don't see any movement whatsoever. The NPA, the police themselves, we are sitting here tonight talking about the police that were captured very strongly, and we have not really seen any kind of interventions. And the president is again, behaving like somebody on the sidelines instead of being key to ensuring that South African confidence is restored on these matters. Many other sectors that were captured, we have not received any feedback whatsoever from the president. And it is in this case that even during the State of the Nation address, the president does not bring us to his confidence that this is how far we have come in terms of addressing questions of state capture. So we are still in a huge limbo as a country.
Professor Poe, I'm going to come back to you now. It is now 1929. We are keeping our eyes on all the screens, waiting to see the president coming on. When the president does appear, we will stop having these deliberations and take you to the president's speech, and then obviously we'll continue and we'll dissect it. Professor Poe, the state of our policing, there's been an argument that the transition from apartheid South Africa into democratic South Africa, we didn't do nearly enough in making the police what we wanted it to be. Then you've got an issue where we don't have commissioners who finish their terms of office as national police commissioners. Then you had the reports into what happened we had Marikana, we had Andrew Satan in terms of how the police managed it. Then you have that high panel investigation looking into what happened in 2021. And part of that was your police who were outnumbered, outmaneuvered, were simply not sophisticated enough, who just simply could not do what they needed to do in order to protect. Never mind the intelligence aspect even that you want to add to it. So the issue of police, I even forgot the J.K. Silibi era where you've had them fraternizing with criminals. We've been here so many times, and we speak about the reforms that are required to get us there. But what does it take to get those issues combed out, to address the many, many facets of things that have gone wrong within South African policing in the 30 plus years of democracy?
Well, look, being cognizant of time, I think three things. One is, look, there needs to be a historical break with the influence and, let's say, overreach of political actors within South African police force. We can understand it for the periods leading to 1994, because, look, the then ANC government inherited.
Professor? I don't know if I can still
yes,
hear you. There you are. No, you can continue.
Yes, I was saying, look, it was understandable why you needed political, or let's say a heavy hand of politics post 1994, understanding that this was the apartheid police force. But I think if we really speak about real reform, is there needs to be a pure breakage between politics and police. There's a reason why police, when you speak to them, generally speaking, I'm not speaking about the highbrows, they feel like they cannot do their job. It's because they seem to say, listen, whose job we are told that we're supposed to serve South Africa, but the people that govern South Africa make it very clear in who we can go after, who we cannot go after. And I'm just inferring based on what General Mkhwanazi says and what looking at the incident with Mr. Celebi, that we cannot go after the criminals in this country. So we've never had that political break. And secondly, you spoke about the training of police. And now this is where I think it does get a bit murky where, look, why would you want, if you are somebody, as General Mkhwanazi intimated, that actually enjoys the status quo where our police are not going after criminals, why would you want them to be better trained? So I think there is an issue where we do need to up this training of our police officials, but it can only happen when the first thing that I spoke about occurs, which is a pure rupture from the politics. Because when you actually look at it, a lot of our police, the top brass, the detectives, actually do get poached by other countries, meaning they do know how to do their job. And if there's anything we've seen from what General Mkhwanazi said, and even looking at the Jackie Celebi situation, is they do know how to gather information and intel related to intelligence and organized crime. The issue is that they're not allowed to do that. So for me, that's the second thing that needs to happen, that yes, we need to up training, but it can only happen when there is no political interference. And the third thing, which you sort of touched about, is I think there needs to be probably a clear delineation between when we mean police in communities. I don't think that relationship has always been strong. Police are supposed to be an extension of the community. And that's where I think the police have sort of got it a bit wrong. If you look at the situation in gangster-ridden places like the Western Cape, Mitchell's Plain, for example, the community will tell you, and you've heard them countless times say, listen, I can't even trust going to the police because the police doesn't actually work for me. So we need to ask ourselves, how do we get these three things to work? Community needs to be involved in policing, and the police need to be part of the community. Two, training does need to be updated. We do need to use the latest technologies which is available for us. I don't hear us speaking about drones. I don't hear us speaking about surveillance to the point where we can actually start being able to quickly anticipate crime, not simply wait for it to happen. And thirdly, and I think the big thing is there needs to be a pure rupture. Politics has to get out of policing, and police have to be allowed to do their jobs.
Politics, if you ask South Africans, has to get out of many, many things. But I've always argued that even if you're not interested in it, unfortunately for you, it is very much interested in you. It makes a determination, believe it or not, sometimes, of the cost of bread that you're buying, that is so involved in your day-to-day life. I want to play some of your WhatsApps, but before I do that, your voice notes, but before I do that, I'm going to read this message coming in on the WhatsApp line. Someone says, my concern is if the president dares to touch Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, KZN being what it is known for, and having seen protests or marches in support of the general here and there, I'm seeing a repeat of 2021. And this time around, it'll be all 9 provinces. Professor Pako, I'll come to you for comment on that. But first, let me play a couple of voice notes, taking in expectations from you as we wait for the president. It's now 19:35. Is anyone surprised that we've gone past the half-past mark and we still have not seen our president? As I said, lots of eyes, the media glare firmly fixed on the union buildings. I'm not surprised it's taking long for us to finally hear from the president. Who knows? Hopefully, before 8 o'clock, we would have heard from the president. But before I come to you, Professor, let me just play a couple of voice notes.
I already rate you should just do the one-on-one with our incredible president and just ask him questions as they are, the no BS vibe like you did with that American journalist. Come on, Tshidi, you are the flippin' queen of radio at the moment. And I love your investigative journalism. And I love your straightforward questions and your passionate love for our nation. So I think you should just take 702 and Cape Talk to the union buildings and be like, yo, Mr. P, we are here to talk. Talk to us. Talk to us. Get down to business. Asking the tough questions. Appreciate you.
Yo, Mr. P, what's going on? I would love to do that. It's not that easy. I've actually had one-on-ones with the president. Can I just say to you, I think what we also need to do, just taking a very quick moment, I'm also really grateful. I'm not an investigative journalist. I'm a political journalist. I'd actually like to take a moment to thank the likes of Oren Singh, the likes of Jeff Wicks, the likes of Busi Kaya Koko. There's a lot of investigative journalists that you don't see. The Tandukolo Jigas, the Tandukolo Sabela Sikitis, there's so many who are Kalko, and there's so many that I could name who have done the digging. It takes a really long time to develop stories for them. It takes far less to put a question to the president. It's very different. We need to thank them actually for the work that they've done in bringing a lot of these to the surface. Were it not for some of those connections, including what happened to Babita Diokaran, we wouldn't know how dire our situation is. So it's really important to thank the fourth estate for the work. We take the criticism before people start telling me about criticism. We absolutely do. I'm going to cross now to the union buildings. I'm seeing the president, so let's finally hear from him.
Last Sunday, the 6th of July 2025, whilst I was in Brazil at the BRICS Summit, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi,
media briefing,
KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner
serious
South
allegations
African Police,
about the existence
held a
and
media
operation
briefing in which
of a sophisticated criminal syndicate that has allegedly infiltrated law enforcement and intelligence structures in our country. Lieutenant Mkhwanazi alleged that the Minister of Police allegedly a murder accused to disband the political killings task team based in KwaZulu-Natal. Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi also said that a police investigation by the task team that was operating in Gauteng unmasked a syndicate controlled by a drug cartel which involves politicians, Metro Police, Correction, as business people. The allegations made in this media briefing raise serious concern around our Constitution, the rule of law, and national security. These allegations, if proven true, threaten to undermine the confidence of South Africans in the ability of the South African Police Service to protect them and to effectively fight crime and corruption. South Africans are concerned about corruption and the rise of criminality in our country, which manifests itself in the killing of innocent people, gender-based violence, gang violence, kidnappings, construction mafia criminality, and in many other ways. As we intensify the fight against crime, it is vital that we safeguard the integrity and credibility of the police and other law enforcement agencies. These allegations, therefore, call for an urgent and comprehensive investigation. To address these allegations and the implications of these allegations, I'm establishing a judicial commission of inquiry that will be chaired by Acting Deputy Chief Justice Mbuyisile Madlanga. Justice Madlanga will be assisted by Advocate Sesi Baloyi, Senior Counsel, and Advocate Sandile Khumalo, Senior Counsel. The Commission will investigate allegations relating to the infiltration of law enforcement, intelligence, and associated institutions within the criminal justice system by criminal syndicates. Among the allegations that the Commission may investigate are the facilitation of organized crime, suppression or manipulation of investigations, inducement into criminal actions by law enforcement leadership, commission of any other criminal offenses, and intimidation, victimization or targeted removal of whistleblowers or officials that are resisting criminal influence. The Commission will investigate the role of current or former senior officials in certain institutions who may have aided or abetted the alleged criminal activity, or failed to act on credible intelligence or internal warnings, or benefited financially or politically from a syndicate's operations. These institutions are the South African Police Service, the National Prosecuting Authority, State Security Agency, the Judiciary, and the Magistracy. and the Metropolitan Police Departments of Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni, and Tshwane. The Commission will also investigate whether any members of the National Executive responsible for the criminal justice system were complicit, aided and abetted, or participated in the acts mentioned above. The Commission will be asked to report on the effectiveness of failures of oversight mechanisms and the adequacy of current legislation, policies, and institutional arrangements in preventing such infiltration. It will make findings and recommendations for criminal prosecutions, disciplinary actions, and institutional reform. Once established, the Commission shall consider prima facie evidence relating to the involvement of individuals who are currently employed within law enforcement or intelligence agencies. Where appropriate, the Commission must make recommendations on the employment status of such officials currently employed, including whether they should be suspended pending the outcome of further investigations. The Commission will have the power to refer matters for immediate investigation and urgent decisions on prosecution, taking into account the nature of the allegations and the evidence the Commission will uncover. It is critical that these matters be attended to with the necessary urgency and thoroughness. The Commission is expected to complete its work and submit a final report to the President. Interim reports will be expected after 3 months and 6 months, respectively. The final report of the Commission will be sent to the Speaker of the National Assembly and to the Chief Justice. Acting Deputy Chief Justice Nhlanhla is retiring from the Constitutional Court at the end of July 2025 after years of distinguished service, and will therefore be able to give his full attention and time to the work of this Commission. In order for the Commission to execute its functions effectively, I have decided to put the Minister of Police, Mr. Senzo Mkhunu, on leave of absence with immediate effect. The Minister has undertaken to give his full cooperation to the Commission to enable it to work properly. I have decided to appoint Professor Firoz Kachalia as Acting Minister of Police. Professor Kachalia is currently a Professor of Law at the University of the Witwatersrand and is the Chairperson of the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council. He previously served as an MEC of Community Safety in Gauteng. I'm appointing Professor Kachalia in terms of Section 91(3) subsection C of the Constitution, which empowers the Constitution to select no more than 2 ministers from outside the National Assembly. Professor Kachalia will be retiring from his current position at the University of Witwatersrand at the end of July this year. I will, in the interim, appoint an acting minister from within Cabinet until Professor Kachalia takes up his post at the beginning of August. The interregnum, therefore, will be just a little over 2 weeks. This commission is being established against the backdrop of significant progress that has been made in rebuilding and strengthening our country's law enforcement agencies and security services. In recent years, the South African Police Service, the Special Investigating Unit, the SIU, and the Asset Forfeiture Unit and other bodies have been making great progress and inroads in the fight against organized crime and corruption. It is essential that we maintain this momentum and that we intensify the work that is currently underway. We will ensure that the South African Police Service and other law enforcement agencies continue to function without hindrance as the Commission undertakes its work. I call on all members of our law enforcement agencies, as well as security services, to remain steadfast in upholding the rule of law of our country and adhering to their code of conduct. I therefore call on all South Africans to support the Commission in the work that it is going to do where appropriate, and to provide any information or assistance the Commission may require. In establishing this Commission of Inquiry, we are affirming our commitment to the rule of law, to transparency, and to accountability. And we are also enhancing the work that is underway to build a South Africa in which all our people are safe and secure. I thank you. Thank you.
Minister of Police Senzo Mkhwanazi put on immediate suspension, leave of absence. Yes, so we will look at that. So the Judicial Commission of Inquiry, there are going to be particular terms. I'll run you through those. I'm just waiting to get the rest of his speech, but of course I'm joined by various guests in studio and on the line to get reaction. We anticipated that there'll be a commission of inquiry of sorts. That's what we have. Did it go far enough? Did it not go far enough? I am looking for your thoughts as well on 011-883-0702. 021-446-0567. I'm joined by two professors, Professor Kiliboni Paho, Director of the School of Government Studies at the Northwest University. And on the line, I'm also joined by Professor Kagiso Powe, Public Policy Specialist at the Wits School of Governance. Oren Singh from EWN is also here with us in the studio. So we'll speak to a lot of people. At some point, I'll even bring in Clement Manyatel, I'll bring in Stephen Grootes, who also have views. He's going to appoint an acting minister, and it's not somebody from cabinet saying it'll be Professor Feroz Kachalia. Whether or not that's a good thing, we will see. Professor Paho, you actually kind of lit up at the name of Feroz Kachalia being brought in. He deals, of course, with anti-corruption. Your sentiment, your takeaway from the president's announcement.
Thank you, Tshidi. I think this is quite an important development, and it actually says that the message has been sent very loud and clear, but also strongly from South Africans that he needs to come up with a very, strong intervention that will go a long way in restoring trust to the police in this particular situation. I think he highlighted a number of issues that were very, very obvious and were very clear to the South African that there is a sophisticated criminal syndicate that is operating in South Africa that is hindering the police to do their work. And we're happy that hopefully the judicial inquiry will be able to unravel that. We just need to have a sense of, because some of the allegations that the general has alluded to were that part of the people that are involved there are the judiciary. So we need to take one or two steps back and say, how do we go around that matter? But the point you are raising with the appointment of Professor Kachalia as an anti-corruption activist, for me, it's quite important, and it actually brings in a very important dynamic to the government of national unity, that it is not only a political party ticket that would be getting people to the cabinet, but also the role that individuals play in the society. And the constitution gives the president a leeway to appoint one or two members of the cabinet who are not necessarily coming from the National Assembly.
All right, thank you so much. Professor Pakwe, I'm going to take a short break, but I want to come back and get, not Professor Pakwe, Professor Poe, sorry. I'm going to take a short break, and when I come back, I'll get your thoughts. Aaron, I also want yours. Past and present ministers is interesting. Becky Cele's name has also come up in these conversations, so I'll get your thoughts. Let's take a quick break first.
South Africa leads the world's biggest economies, the G20, under the bold theme, solidarity, equality, and sustainability. But this is more than a slogan. It's a call to action for solidarity, uniting nations through shared purpose, equality, creating fair opportunities for all, sustainability, growing today without costing tomorrow. As G20 president, South Africa is focused on three key priorities: inclusive economic growth and jobs, food security for every table, and using artificial intelligence for sustainable innovation. South Africa, leading the G20, shaping a better world. A message by the GCIS.
It took time to create the life you've built. Every milestone, every moment, you've earned it. Indra takes the time to understand what's priceless to you, tailoring insurance to match a life of distinction. True peace of mind comes from knowing that everything you've worked for is insured with precision. It starts with a conversation. It starts with helloindra.co.za. Indra Risk Services is an authorized financial services provider.
Every switch you flip, every circuit you connect, every idea you spark starts with power. So why not express it your way? At AC/DC Express, we've got solar power to keep you running, tools to get the job done, lighting to set the mood, and automation to take you to the next level. Whatever you need, big or small, we've got the power to supply it. With stores nationwide, expert advice, and the widest range of electrical solutions, AC/DC Express powers your world. AC/DC Express, everything electrical.
A healthy immune system begins in your gut, so the inclusion of high-quality probiotics in your diet can be beneficial. Biogen Supreme Probiotic 9 strain is an advanced formula with Hawaru strains and Orofti Synergy 1 fiber designed to improve intestinal flora. Biogen now also offers Supreme Probiotic for her for intimate feminine wellness, as well as acute travel biotic and Choose for Juniors. Choose a probiotic supplement that's right for you. Available at Dis-Chem and biogen.co.za.
Walking this talk together.
Every hour.
Every day. This is 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Welcome back. You are listening to a Prime Media special. We just heard from President Cyril Ramaphosa, who addressed the nation on the policing crisis. I want your views. What do you make of it? We had a lot of expectations. A lot of people thought we'd have a commission of inquiry. Some people even thought that we'll have a reshuffle. Remember, the Minister of Higher Education was halted from going to China, and people thought that was an indication that we'll have a wholesale cabinet reshuffle. We did not get that. But what we did get told by the president is that the Minister of Police has been put on leave, a leave of absence with immediate effect, that Professor Feroz Kachalja will be acting in that particular space with one of the members of cabinet acting for just about 2 weeks, if I'm correct. It will be a judicial commission of inquiry with acting Deputy Chief Justice Mbuyiseni Matlanga being in charge of it. What's interesting for me is the issue around investigating current or former senior officials. We want you to also weigh in on 011 883 0702. 021 446 0567. You can send voice notes and WhatsApps to 072 702 1702. As I said to you, I'm joined by various guests, including our very own Oren Singh in studio. I've got Professor Kidibone Pakho, who's also here in studio, as well as Professor Kagiso Poe on Zoom. Before I come to you, Oren, let me go to Professor Poe. I was going to him all along. Professor, you had a lot of expectations. You didn't expect them to be met. Your sense of what came out of the president's mouth this evening?
Look, I think if you have to put a percentage, I sort of said that we needed something external. I was going for something more outside the country. So I would say he just delivered on 33% of what I expected, which is normally the average the president normally scores for anything. It's around 33%. And look, until we really read the terms of reference, I actually did a study looking at commissions of inquiry from 1994. And the key thing that comes out in all of them is, again, and this is where we speak about expectation management, that, as we said earlier on, commissions of inquiries are not legal processes. It's a quasi-legal process. And this has always been the irritation for me with commissions of inquiry, is you can find them, but you still then have to take up the next leg, which is to say the president now has to institute and make sure that the legal institutions within government can now act on it. And what has been the result of that? Just looking at the Zondo Commission as an example, you will tell me if I'm wrong, but I think zero has come out of that commission.
We complain every day.
Yeah, we complain every day. So I'm gonna look. It's not that I want to be a party pooper. I'm just simply showing you precedent tells me this is going nowhere. And also, look, it's great, I think, for Professor Firoz Kachalia. It's also, I guess I have to say, it's great for Wits, because it basically means I must stay in Wits a bit longer than I also get these appointments. But that's a by the way. But look, my worry though is look at the nature of the problems, right? You are taking somebody. You look, for all, you could be Nelson Mandela, you could be whoever you want. You're taking that person into the lion's den. What protects that individual when he goes to the first meeting? Because the first thing you need to know is that you cannot trust anyone in that first meeting that you have. And that for me is always a problem with our president and this government and the previous government of the ANC. They don't understand the issue of systemic problems. The president spoke about crime being on the wane. Speak to the average South African citizen, nowhere near the case.
So
again, for me, I think he misses it again.
That's
which
interesting.
is basically, you are in crisis. And you're not acting as though this is a crisis.
I want you to park for a second. I want you to park, in fact, take a few steps back before I let you go. The idea that he's going to have interim reports that are going to be tabled 3 months, 6 months respectively, that means absolutely nothing. I mean, we complain about the commissions. We started this by complaining about the commissions. Trying to put in a measure like this isn't encouraging.
Not at all. It does nothing else. And maybe let me even problematize this a bit further. If I'm not mistaken, isn't the Minister of State Security in the presidency?
It is.
So
sits there.
What's her role in this? Unless you're because basically commissions of inquiry, what my study showed is commissions of inquiry are simply used as government kicking the can down the road. Government is simply saying, I don't want to handle this. Let me get an external party who handles it. And then I'll come to the crowd and say, listen, this is what they've said. So if I'm not, my issue here is not the professor. My issue here is I don't think the president understands the urgency of it. And moreover, I think this is really not answering the key questions which we had last week Sunday, which is to say, if you're saying our intelligence and our judiciary is not up to scratch, basically it's corrupt, is this really the measure that changes it?
Is this enough? I'm going to take a pause there. I'm going to take a very short break, go to the news update, and we'll come back and we'll continue as we dissect what's come from the president, from the union buildings, to address South Africa's policing crisis.
Brush, stroke, paint, color, protect, and admire. From roof paint to exterior textures and interior silk, Warrior Paints has it all. The product range and stylish colors are amazing. And what's more, Warrior Paints has crushed prices for incredible savings. Enjoy that good old-fashioned personal service you deserve. For price, quality, variety, and service, Warrior Paints is streets ahead. Warrior Paints. Affordable, lasting luxury.
Just like your last breakup, commitment is messy. Leave the chaos behind and find something new to hold on to with Rentosa. Discover subscriptions on tech, appliances, and more that will make your heart go bum, bum, bum. No red flags here, only green flags like month-to-month payments, 0 penalty fees, and the flexibility to upgrade or downgrade whenever. Not feeling the connection? No ghosting needed. Simply return it for something new that'll give you that spark you're looking for. Commitment is messy. Just Rentosa it. Download the app, visit the website, and join our WhatsApp channel.
Elevate your flying experience with Lift Premium. Enjoy even more space, comfort, and convenience with priority boarding, extra baggage allowance, and complimentary lounge access. Visit lift.co.za today.
When it comes to protecting your workforce, trust the workwear brand that has been protecting workers for over 150 years, Sweetall. Sweetall has overalls and uniform solutions for every industry, so your team is safe, comfortable, and ready to tackle any challenge. Visit our new Boksburg showroom, shop A1 Atlas Road, Westwood, Boksburg, or go to sweetall.com today. Sweetall, we never let you down. Superior protective workwear since 1871.
This is EWN.
Good evening, I'm Zingisa Chirwa. President Ramaphosa has placed Police Minister Senzo Mchunu on special leave of absence pending a commission of inquiry into allegations that he's embroiled in interference in the work of the South African Police Service. Ramaphosa has this evening also announced a commission of inquiry to be chaired by Acting Deputy Chief Justice Nhlanhla to probe allegations by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi that Mchunu interfered with sensitive police investigations and colluded with business people, including a murder accused, to disband the political killings task team in KZN. Ramaphosa says he will make an interim appointment for his cabinet to step into Mchunu's shoes until Wits law professor Firoz Kachalia retires from academia and can take over as minister next month. The Constitution empowers the president to appoint 2 people from his cabinet from outside the National Assembly.
This commission is being established against the backdrop of significant progress that has been made in rebuilding and strengthening our country's law enforcement agencies and security services. In recent years, the South African Police Service, the Special Investigating Unit, the SIU, and the Asset Forfeiture Unit and other bodies have been making great progress and inroads in the fight against organized crime and corruption.
The Independent Electoral Commission has rejected the application of the Islamic State of Africa to register as a political party. The decision follows several objections and a failure to meet key registration requirements. The party now has 30 days to appeal. Jabulile Mbata has more.
The IEC says the Islamic State of Africa failed to submit the minimum 300 signatures from registered voters, a basic legal requirement. The party also published its registration notice in a newspaper with limited circulation, which the IEC says did not provide sufficient public notice. In a statement, the Commission says it received over 200 objections from individuals and organizations who argued that the party's constitution proposes policies based on the Sharia law, which they believe conflict with South Africa's constitutional values. The Islamic State of Africa has 30 days to challenge the IEC's decision through an official appeal process. Jabulile Mbata, Eyewitness News.
Sandparks has confirmed that a Cape Town woman was left partially blind following a violent attack on Table Mountain. The woman was hiking alone on the Jeep track, a route she regularly used, when she was suddenly attacked by an unknown man last Sunday. The attacker reportedly struck her repeatedly on the head with a rock. Sandparks says its rangers were called to scene and administered first aid while others searched the area for the suspect. Her husband, Ken Noble, shared the details of the assault.
This madman whacked her over the head with a rock 3 times, 4 times, then tried to gouge her eye out. She required 4 hours of surgery to repair her scalp, then eye surgery, and she's lost 50% of her vision in her left eye.
And former Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari has died at the age of 82. His former spokesperson, Garba Shehu, has confirmed that the former statesman passed away at a clinic in London today. A former military ruler in the 1980s, Buhari returned decades later as a democratically elected president, serving from 2015 to 2023. He made history in 2015 as the first opposition candidate to defeat a sitting president at the ballot box, a major political shift in Nigeria. President Bola Tinubu says he has spoken with Buhari's widow and has sent the vice president to the UK to accompany the late president's body back to Nigeria. In your weather, Gauteng can expect clear skies on Monday, Johannesburg dropping to overnight lows of 5 degrees, peaking at 21, Pretoria 7 and 22, Vereeniging 6 and 20 degrees, and Cape Town will be partly cloudy at a low of 6, rising to 15. The top story in EWN this hour, President Cyril Ramaphosa has placed Police Minister Senzo Mkhwanazi on special leave of absence, pending a commission of inquiry into allegations that he's embroiled in interference in the work of the South African Police Service.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. 702 on 92.7 and 106 FM.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app
And on DSTV channel 856.
7 minutes past 8, Tshidi Madia for a special Prime Media broadcast. We wanted to hear from the president. He's addressing the ongoing crisis as far as the police are concerned. Remember, a week ago, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, KZN's police commissioner, made all manner of allegations about how there was interference in the work of police. The top brass is involved, members of cabinet and the minister is involved. The president's response is to institute a commission of inquiry. It will be spearheaded by acting Deputy Chief Justice Nhlanhla. He is saying there that there'll be, I think, 3 months for a 3-month term to give in a preliminary report, and then 3 months afterwards, I think that's like January, Aaron was doing a countdown. That's when hopefully the final will be submitted to the Speaker, to the Chief Justice, and the President as well. We're taking your reviews. Minister of Police, Senzo Mkhwanazi, placed on a leave of absence, so he's on special leave. He's out. People wanted a cabinet reshuffle. I did say that. They thought that this was a moment. I will not be surprised to see a government of national unity partner, the DA, being upset. And this is also where I introduce my guest once more, and I will not allow Professor Poe to weigh in on GNU. I know exactly what his views are because we have those conversations quite often. Professor Poe is joining me on the line. He's from WITS. I've got Professor Paho in studio with me. I also have EWN's Orange Singh. I'm also seeing all your calls. So before I come back to my guest, let me take the calls. Riatu Metsi in North Riding, good evening.
Good evening to you and to all the listeners. Just one thing that I really want to raise is a lack of confidence has been instilled furthermore because especially on the backdrop of the Zondo Commission, more money from taxpayers is being spent for us hearing things that we know are happening in the background. More crimes are being declared, but no action is ever taken, especially with any politicians being prosecuted for all these crimes. It's the TRC just draped in a different way, from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to the Commission of Inquiry, where people just get to come and confess their crimes and continue with their lives. So the president's speech today really didn't instill much confidence, especially from a youth perspective. Oh, we're going to go and talk, we're going to spend more taxpayers' money. Already the Zondo Commission took over R1 billion. So it's not looking good.
It's disheartening for you. Thank you so much. That's Rutumete out in North Riding saying that, it's just another way for people to come confess and keep going. Funny enough, he makes reference to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. It's been well over 30 years and we're still actually stuck in that area. There are families that are still languishing as far as that is concerned. Jeff in Kempton Park.
Hi, Tshidi.
Go on.
I'm okay, man. I just want to raise my concern, man. I'm also disappointed with the president, but for democracy, for me to create a commission of inquiry is okay. My worry is who is going to be investigated, who is going to be commissioned here, because the minister is already on a special leave. Then the Brown Mkhwanazi and the other alliance that Mr. Mkhwanazi mentioned, they are not even mentioned in there, so that they must be investigated because they are part of the syndicate.
Jeff.
So my problem with the president's speech today is he doesn't have the power to decide what to do with his presidency. You need to consult. We are running out of patience in this.
Mara, Jeff, some things are for the courts to deal with. That's Jeff out in Kempton Park. Some things are for the courts to deal with and not the president. I mean, the answer that Jeff sounds like he's looking for don't necessarily come from the president. I mean, when he says that investigate the prima facie evidence, I think that is a throw to the courts to look into that. I'm interested in the fact that he says even former senior officials have to be investigated. As I said, Oren Bekikele's name comes to mind for me. His name has been part and parcel of the rumors and murmurs flying about?
And it's not something that's recent, Tshidi. This has been happening for a number of years, even dating back to the time when he was the MEC for Transport in KwaZulu-Natal. There were questions overhanging over his head. But with the issue at hand here, I think a lot of people, obviously, we're hearing their concerns and with what the president said. But I think I agree with some of the comments that have been made in terms of what about the others that Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi implicated in his speech last week, Sunday? What about the others? And I'm hoping I'm not wrong on this, Tshidi. I'm hoping that we see the National Commissioner, Police Commissioner Fani Masimola, possibly address the media this week about changing a few things within senior police officials within the SAPS itself. But for another commission to be established, for us to wait 6 months, Tshidi, the one thing is if we can get crime under control in Gauteng, that's going to filter into the other provinces. And we heard what Mkhwanazi said last week, that drugs are being imported from South America, come to Durban Harbour, and they're brought up to Gauteng and distributed. So it's a massive criminal network that we're dealing with here. But what about the other provinces as well? How deep is this commission going to go, and what are we going to get coming out of it? Is there other names that are going to be implicated or people implicated? We'll have to wait and see.
All right, thank you so much, Oren. Going back to the calls, Tsulu in Montana. Hi.
Hi, Judy. How are you?
Yes, I'm good. Go ahead.
Yeah, look, until the Minister of Police is appointed by an independent body, we are going to have this problem where politics will always interfere with security. There are certain ministries that I feel that should never be appointed by the president, because if the president is guilty of something, he can manipulate them to get the outcome that he wants or wishes. So until we get certain ministries out of the president's hands and put them somewhere else for other people to elect the ministers, then we are going to have this problem. So this problem, even if we change the president, we are going to have it with the next president.
All right, thank you so much. That's Tulu out in Montana. I am also going to bring in politicians into the conversation because they too must grapple with this, right? We keep saying the political elite, this and that. So let's hear what they also have to say. Makashule Ghana from Rise Mzansi is the caucus whip of Rise Mzansi. Makashule, good evening to you. Your sentiments from what the president had to say tonight.
Good evening, Mercedes, and good evening to the 702 listeners. So, a couple of things. We do welcome the establishment of a commission of inquiry because we believe that the allegations were very serious. It touched on many aspects, many spheres, from policing, the judiciary, the metro police. So the only way that you can get to the bottom of all these alleged infiltration is for a proper commission of inquiry. It's something that we had called for the moment that General Mkhwanazi made the allegations, because we did not believe that it's possible that you can have members of the South African Police Service that could investigate these matters.
Makashule, one of the issues being raised here today is by Professor is that you appoint somebody like Professor Feroz Kachale, but you don't have the parameters, the levers to protect him. You're sending him, in essence, sheep into a wolf's den, lion's den, if you may, where the politicians are in the room, they're members of cabinet, and there's nothing that shields somebody who must now toe the line, get the police to be whipped into shape, when some of the accused, in essence, in our country, are the very politicians who are serving in cabinet.
The point it's made, but we do believe, given that Professor Kachalia is not entirely new into the sector, having served as an MEC of community safety in Gauteng, we believe that he's got the kind of temperament that it's needed to stabilize and also ensure that this ongoing public mudslinging come to an end. And we hope that he will work closely with General Masimola. If there's one thing that it will not stop, for instance, is that even with the commission of inquiry that's on the go, the police still have to account in Parliament. So we also look forward to participating in the parliamentary processes. It cannot be said that just because you've got a commission of inquiry, then the the minister, the acting minister in this instance, Professor Kachalia, the police top brass will not account to Parliament. They will continue to account to Parliament, and that's something that I will ensure that it happens. We will have a joint meeting on Wednesday between the portfolio committees of police and justice that now will also look at the scope of the commission of inquiry, so that even ourselves in Parliament we can do our part in Parliament, because it would, there's always that temptation in this country that when you've got a commission or there's maybe a case, someone will say, no, I'm not going to answer questions because the matter is sub judice. So we're not going to have that. The top brass of the police still have to account in Parliament.
All right.
We'll ensure that it happens together with the NPA.
All right, thank you so much. That's Raz Mzansi's Makashule Ghana. Makashule Ghana is a whip, but he's also a member of the Portfolio Committee on Police, sticking with political reaction. And please note that Makashule Ghana also forms part of those in that GNU outfit. So they are in a coalition with the ANC. So I'm not surprised that his answer is so carefully crafted, if I may. Vuyo Zungula is from ATM. He's their parliamentary leader. I expect Vuyo to have a slightly different perspective on the announcement by the president. Vuyo, good evening to you. Vuyo, hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes. The president has spoken. A lot of people saying we don't need yet another commission of inquiry, but we knew that this is exactly where the president would go. Your take?
The president once again showed how much of a coward he is, because he's deferred real action to a commission of inquiry, because he does not want to be seen to be taking action against his political ally. Politically, how much Mr. Mkhwanazi has assisted him in terms of his ascension to the presidency. So he's done exactly what he's known to be doing, which is be a coward and put his own political interests ahead of the interests of the country. Because with the evidence that was leveled by General Mkhwanazi on Minister Mkhwanazi, it is enough for him to be actually fired from his job, not to be put on leave. Because when you put someone on leave, in this case, it means he's still going to enjoy his benefits, he's still going to enjoy his salary. However, when you are taking a decisive action and you fire a person, you are saying to the other ministers, it is wrong to lie to Parliament, because Minister Mkhwanazi admittedly lied to Parliament. So we're not surprised as the ATM, because this is the manner in which he's been conducting himself throughout his presidency since 2018. On the issue of the Commission of Inquiry, we are very tired as South Africans on commissions of inquiries, because it is as if there's something being done, but practically nothing happens after commissions of inquiries. We had a commission of inquiry that wasted over R1 billion of the money belonging to the taxpayers. But as we speak now, people who have been implicated from that inquiry, Mr. Ramaphosa, appointed them to cabinet. There's no arrests that have been made, etc. And we know that with some commissions of inquiries, they are manipulated towards certain outcomes. Hence, they follow people instead of following evidence.
Right.
So for us, we are not for this commission of inquiry.
Of course. Thank you so much. That's Vuyo Zungula, who's the ATM parliamentary leader. Before I take a quick break, let me just note that the Minister of Police himself, Senzo Mkhwanazi, has released a statement, short and brief, short and concise, saying that he accepts and supports the decision of the President. Minister of Police Senzo Mkhwanazi will be taking a leave of absence from his official duties following serious allegations that have been leveled against him by the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner of South African Police. Says the decision, of course, comes in light of the announcement by the President. The Minister saying that he welcomes and respects the President's decision and pledges his commitment to the process with honor and integrity as virtues he personally subscribes to, and which he says we all need to make efforts to uphold. He says he stands ready to respond to the accusations that have been leveled against him, and he accounts to the citizens of the Republic fully and honestly. So let's take a break.
When it comes to protecting your workforce, trust the workwear brand that has been protecting workers for over 150 years, Sweetall. Sweetall has overalls and uniform solutions for every industry, so your team is safe, comfortable, and ready to tackle any challenge. Visit our new Boksburg showroom, shop A1 Atlas Road, Westwood, Boksburg, or go to sweetall.com today. Sweetall, we never let you down. Superior protective workwear since 1871.
What is Mandela Day? What's all this? What are we doing? What are we doing here? That's why. Why? Because.
Kids ask a lot of questions. Here's one for you. Will you donate 2 hours of your time on Mandela Day to help Ladles of Love feed children in need? Volunteer on Friday, July 18th in Johannesburg or Cape Town and make items to make every day a Mandela Day for our children. Visit ladlesoflove.org.za for tickets today.
A healthy immune system begins in your gut, so the inclusion of high-quality probiotics in your diet can be beneficial. Biogen Supreme Probiotic 9 strain is an advanced formula with Hawaru strains and Orofti Synergy 1 fiber designed to improve intestinal flora. Biogen now also offers Supreme Probiotic for her for intimate feminine wellness, as well as acute travel biotic and Choose for Juniors. Choose a probiotic supplement that's right for you. Available at Dis-Chem and biogen.co.za.
Elevate your flying experience with Lift Premium. Enjoy even more space, comfort, and convenience with priority boarding, extra baggage allowance, and complimentary lounge access. Visit lift.co.za today.
Walking this talk together.
Every hour.
Every day. This is 702.
Let's walk the talk.
23 minutes past 8, Tshidi Madia. I'm with you on Talk Radio 702. I'm with you on Cape Talk. I'm on Prime Media Plus. I'm on EWN's YouTube page as well. You can go in there. You can go there and watch us and you can engage. We are reflecting on the president's address this evening, address the nation on the ongoing police crisis, of course, following those damning allegations that were made by General Mkhwanazi that there are attempts to sabotage and interfere with police work by some, including Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. A statement coming out from Minister Senzo Mchunu a short while ago that he will accept and he will participate fully and honestly with the Commission of Inquiry. He will be held accountable, fully do so to the public. He is placed on special leave. I'm taking reaction from different political parties at the moment. Mazwi Blase is a member of the EFF Central Command team. He's also an EFF member of Parliament. He joins me now on the line. Mazwi, good evening to you. Your sentiments. I mean, the EFF has been calling for the removal of the Minister of Police. He's not removed completely. He's placed on special leave at the moment. The reaction to that development?
No, good evening to you and your listeners. Look, I mean, Cyril Ramaphosa is really a man on top who does absolutely nothing, and there's nothing as useless as that. What is basically done here is to pass the buck for himself. He's pretending as if he's doing something when he's literally have not done anything. He's just trying to manage the feelings of our people as if he's doing something. One, you just have no guts or no leadership capabilities. Why must you place Minister Senzo Mchunu on special leave? Why can't he be suspended? Because he's placed on special leave for how long? When you yourself are expecting a commission that will last at least 6 months, and you know very well it's not going to, by the end of 6 months, that commission would not be ready with any reports. Secondly, our people in this country are fed up of commissions. No one wants to see this commission. It's really just a tick box exercise that is going to cleanse people, because at the end of the day, that commission is going to come back and tell us that Senzo Mchunu is not guilty of anything or whatever the issue, after wasting so much of money. And even if it does find any people who are conflicted to anything, it will still have to refer that to other further prosecutions, to other further investigations. So it's really just, you know, an act of something, as if Ramaphosa is really doing something when he's really not done it. He just packed the buck away from himself so that people don't point fingers at himself, and then he points everything to the commission to say, no, we are waiting for this commission. Also, Tshidi, lastly, I don't think that the president is correct in appointing
an acting minister outside of cabinet? Because the section that he quoted, which is section 91(3)(c), does not speak of appointment of acting ministers. It speaks of appointing a minister outside of parliament or cabinet. Now, the section that actually speaks of appointment of acting ministers is section 93, and it says an acting minister must actually come from the cabinet itself, not even a member of parliament, but an acting minister should be from cabinet itself. So I really am not sure that what Cyril has done by appointing Farouz is actually correct, and we're still going to investigate that and get a legal opinion on that as well.
Thank you so much. That's an interesting point that Mazi Blase is raising there from the EFF. Professor Pao, I don't know if you can weigh in on that. I mean, we've always known that he's got space to have two who are not in parliament. I didn't know about whether or not there's a caveat around an acting minister.
Yeah, Tshidi. So I think that would need to be looked into. But my sentiment would be, my knee-jerk reaction would be that I don't think there's anything wrong that the president has done. He has exercised his executive powers. If there's a loophole, they may close it a little bit later. But what I'm thinking, Tshidi, just to hijack you on this, is to agree with a lot of South Africans on this, is that the reactions tell us that South Africans are frustrated because we have been here before and we've seen a lot of the commissions of inquiry that has taken place. But the president fails to live up to the basic requirements or standards that we're expecting to perform. For example, the president could have taken us into his confidence and say, what are the interim measures in place while the commission of inquiry is putting its act together. What Oren outlined earlier was quite fundamental, that the allegations that the General Mkhwanazi has made, that there is already a syndicate that is operating from Durban to Johannesburg to around the country, the president has not addressed those issues. So it means it continues to be business as usual. The second issue is that instituting a commission of inquiry tells us that the institutions that the president is presiding upon are failing to do their work. And that actually goes back to whether the president is in control of his cabinet, is in control of his government. He should, at least by now, told us that they are looking forward to certain kind of outcomes from this, and I agree to a very large extent with my colleague, Professor Poe there, that maybe the president could have gone outside the judiciary. We could have had members of the civil society. We could have had members of from academia who are experts in law and taken over these roles, because we just continue to recycle the very same problems over and over again.
Thank you so much, Professor. Herman Mashaba is on the line as well. Herman, of course, is leader of Action SA. Herman, enough action for you from the president tonight?
Well, another lost opportunity, Tshidi. I think for South Africans, and obviously I'm not a spokesperson for all South Africans, but I can speak on behalf of Action SA. After waiting for more than a week, because the matter that was in front of the president, that's the matter that should have been handled last Sunday already. We waited a week and wait for a week for the president to absolve himself from taking the responsibility to build the trust of South Africans, which they've lost against our criminal justice system. And if we want to destroy a country, anywhere in the world, destroy the rule of law. And that's precisely what the president has actually done. But I'm also really quite disappointed with what we call the government of national unity, which has never had any unity from day one. When Joe's DNAs and from the DNA accepting the fact that they're feeling comfortable that they were never consulted on such a very important matter, that it's a prerogative of the president to appoint the ministers. It does not work like this in any successful coalitions anywhere in the world, where if you do not really get the majority on matters of this nature, you consult your coalition partners, and if not, then they take matters seriously. Now, the second biggest party in this GNU to really be comfortable with the manner in which the president has acted, it's really of concern for us as Action SA. Also, Tshidi, let me add something also that South Africans must not really forget. Remember, for us as Action SA, we've always called for the abolition of this useless deputy ministers. Now, you can imagine this 2-week period until the 1st of August, the president was unable to even take one of the deputy ministers to act in this place. That actually shows how useless these deputy ministers are. But at the same time, they're costing us, as a country, money we don't really have. And also putting the minister on special leave with all the perks. I think it's so. When you look at this whole situation, there's everything wrong with the decision and the manner in which the president has handled this matter.
All right, Herman, thank you so much for your thoughts. I want to bring in one of my colleagues, Stephen Mkhwanazi, who actually did cover Professor Khatshaliya during his tenure in Gauteng's government as MEC. Stephen, good evening to you. Your thoughts on the president and what he had to say?
Tshidi, good evening and good to be with you. I think a couple of things. Firstly, I think a lot of people, and particularly markets, and I've been thinking about this, were maybe looking for a display of presidential authority tonight. I don't know if we really got that. I think a display of presidential authority in terms of good governance, transparency, trying to sort of show the way would probably have involved, I'm afraid to say, a reshuffle. And I realize this is something that you'll have been discussing throughout the night. But, you know, the higher education minister and all the other issues, and I'm very aware of the dynamics in KwaZulu-Natal and how complicated that is. But a lot of market sentiment would be very keen to see how assertive the president is. And they might sort of be looking at this and thinking, well, that like he's kind of done the bare minimum. He's put the minister on special leave, hasn't even fired him. He also, crucially, hasn't done anything against Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. My memories of Feroz Khatshaliya, professor as he now is someone who was very principled, someone who thought very carefully. Tshidi, you all know how our politicians often sort of speak first and think afterwards. I think Khatshaliya is the complete opposite of that. Comes, of course, from the famous family, many of whom have a very long track record in law. But as someone who really thought very carefully about what he was doing, and I'm reminded, in fact, reporting on him at the time, this must have been 2005, 2006, he would come to public meetings. We had one at the radio station, and he was very calm, very measured. And I remember thinking at the time, this is quite a different approach to what we're seeing from other people who are very much sort of shoot first, ask questions later. He's not like that at all. And I think one of the things that we will definitely see in terms of a difference between him and Mkhwanazi is Mkhwanazi appears to have been involved or personally involved or giving approval after the fact to incidents where people, you know, suspected criminals have been shot. I think Khatshaliya will have a very different view. The one thing I would say, though, is that Khatshaliya is someone who I think is determined to stamp out corruption. And I think this will be very interesting to watch how it plays out from here.
Sure. All right. Thank you so much. That's one of my colleagues there, Stephen Mkhwanazi, is also weighing in on the broader implications of what the moment means, but also giving us a bit of brief history of Feroz Khatshaliya. Before I go to Ian Cameron, who's on the line, I just want to quickly go to Professor Poe. Professor, the frustration from listeners, from South Africans, is actually very clear. People are more worried about how much more of the public purse that we've seen being squeezed will be further squeezed for another commission.
No, look, it's understandable when you count how many of these commissions and inquiries we've had. And look, it's a simple sum. It's the expectation we've seen from commissions of inquiry versus the results. And I always say this, and I think you briefly touched on it. There is a huge disjunction between where our political elites live and where the rest of South Africa is living at the moment. The economy is growing at 0, and I don't want to be fancy and use 0.11 and we celebrate 0.5. People's safety, I mean, in your news headline, we just heard of and I assume it's a gentleman who spoke about his wife being attacked at Table Mountain, being a foreign national. Things are not working for the average South African. And when things do not work, people look for different means to do it. So your outpouring of organizations like Operation Dudula and the like all scream to the fact that this country is not working. So when the president comes up and he says, listen, with all the powers and basically the knowledge of this whole country vested in me, the only solution I can give you is a commission of inquiry like we gave you the previous one. People have a right to say, but wait, it's 30 years now. Our lives are not going anywhere else. So the disappointment is not in South Africans saying, listen, we want to use extrajudicial means to get outcomes. That's not what South Africans are saying. It's simply a means of saying it's 30 years and our lives are not improving. Yet when we look outside and we look at you as a political elite, you guys seem to have a lot of time to play these games and these fancy things called commissions of inquiry, but our lives are not moving. So the disappointment, I think, stems from the material conditions where South Africans are at the moment. And I cannot blame them because I'm also one of them who simply says, listen, my home, when I say home, I come from the Val in Everton. Things are not changing. Things are getting worse. Water is not working. Yet, for you as a political elite, you don't even mind. That's normal. You come in, you cut ribbons, and you say,
You're
listen,
okay with it. Yep.
for this week, maybe we'll make water work at 0.5. So this disappointment, and the problem is, once this disappointment blows, what we see in other countries is people take things into their hands. And my fear is that this is a direction which we're going into, where we don't have leadership and we don't have a political elite that's firmly grounded in us. And when people take things into their hands, you do not control the outcome. And that's why I think what the president has done today, and I think he's repeatedly done, it's not just him, it's his party.
All right, thank you so much. I've got Ian Cameron on the line. I've got Ian Cameron on the line. Ian is a DA member of Parliament. I mean, you've taken action as a political party already, Ian. Welcome. You've taken action already as a DA as far as the minister is concerned. We have a commission of inquiry. Your thoughts about what the way forward is? A lot of parties are not satisfied. They feel we are throwing money down the drain yet again.
Thank you. Yeah. So let me start by saying we have Parliament for a reason. So this coming Wednesday, the Police Portfolio Committee as well as the Justice and Constitutional Development Committees will meet together to determine the way forward in terms of Parliament. And to be very honest, I mean, we can't take away from this commission before it started, but the track record is pretty bad. If you think about the Zondo Commission, cost billions, and then we ask how many people are behind bars, the answer is zero. I think tonight was a missed opportunity to finally draw the line in the sand for the fight against corruption. I believe we should actually call it police capture. If you look at South Africa's ranking in terms of organized crime, we rank amongst the top 10 countries in the world. And the only way that you rank that highly for organized crime is when your police, in many parts, is captured. There's no other way to do it. Organized crime, at its core, is an involvement by your security agencies. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to take away from a commission before it started. And in terms of Acting Minister Kachalia, I think he is competent. The little I know about him is very positive in terms of his expertise. But, now we're paying for another minister while another is on leave. I struggle to grasp the logic.
What would you have done differently, Ian? If you were in his position, would you have done and presented to the country what the president put forward before us? Or would you have tried to do something different with the matter?
Well, I think there may have been a way to come across a little bit more determined. An example, the statement made that a commission would decide who and when those persons should be suspended. Persons implicated should be suspended. Now, I'm struggling to understand this because you've got very senior people in the South African Police Service, amongst others, being implicated, but you're saying you're going to appoint a commission to determine suspension. If you think about it, in my opinion, the National Commissioner should already have suspended the relevant implicated people exactly for the reason of protecting the integrity of the institution and the integrity of the investigations. We need urgent action. I also think that we could have, for example, if cost is an issue, I mean, a commission like this costs a massive amount of money. That could have been addressed. We could have said, hey, don't worry, it's not going to cost that much because we have done X, Y, and Z. But take South Africans into confidence, for goodness sake. We don't have to every time have the same kind of disappointment and ranting after a family meeting.
Yeah, that's what bothers South Africans really is the ranting and raving is about the frustration, it's about the cost of these kind of processes, right? That you keep pouring money into something that you hope will yield something. And fresh off of the memory of South Africans is state capture. I'm joined now by my colleague, Clement Manyatela. Madimeja, good evening to you. I've no question.
Okay.
Yes, I'm calling you Madimeja. There's no question in my mind that tomorrow morning, come 9 o'clock, your listeners are going to be harping on and on, also bouncing mad about the commission, or the announcement in general.
Yeah, absolutely, Tshidi. I mean, obviously, we did expect the president to announce a commission, a judicial commission of inquiry of sorts. What we were unclear on since last week was whether he is going to take action against Senzo Mchunu and what was going to happen to the other implicated parties. And I must say that, and of course, as we go for the open line tomorrow, one of the things that I want to get the listeners' thoughts on is, one, are they happy with how the president addressed this matter? I really felt like he was just being so nonchalant about it. I think I would have loved to see a president who was a disciplinarian of sorts, like be firm and say, I'm not going to allow this infighting to happen that compromises the security of this country. And I just think I missed that. I just got a president who came through and just said, oh, because of what's been said, here's what I'm going to do to investigate further.
Clement, do you remember 2021 when we waited on a Friday evening for the president to address us? And he did come off as firm and this is what I'm going to do. And we had so many investigations. I was actually looking at the Human Rights Commission's report into the 2021 unrest. And I thought it was interesting where then Minister of Defense, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, then Minister of State Security, Ayanda Dlodlo, had complained about an unresponsive police commissioner in KZN. And that was actually about Mkhwanazi specifically. But the point that I'm trying to make is we've been here before. Even him, the president, has tried to assert the energy before, and it really didn't take us anywhere. The fact that we come back here today, the fact that I'm remembering Mr. Finish and Clar in Jeki Silibe, and that's not Ramaphosa's era, but it happened nonetheless. The fact that we keep going, oh my goodness, we've had these weird chapters, and we keep coming back, What does that say?
I think messaging is important, Tshidi, and the optics of it as well. I mean, that's why Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi didn't just hold a media briefing last weekend, right? What did he do? He went there clad in special op uniform. He went there with heavily armed police officers. That was for a reason. That's because he understands messaging and the optics matter. And I think even with a president, when you are the head of state and you've got police officers that are fighting amongst each other and throwing accusations at each other, you need to take authority and take a stand and say, I will not accept this because this compromises the security of South Africans. But here's something that I'm interested in. I mean, of course, the president will only have, constitutionally, he only has the authority to act on the Minister of Police, right? He wasn't going to sit there and say, let's suspend Shadrach Sibiya.
No, that's not his place.
That's not his place, but he's smart enough also to say, let the commission of inquiry be the one that decides whether or not implicated people here or affected people need to be suspended pending an inquiry. Tshidi,
including former.
Yes. But you and I, Tshidi, over the last week, we have been talking to people within the security apparatus. You know what they've been telling us about, giving us context around the infighting that happens in the police, that what we are seeing here, these accusations going back and forth, is not just that. There's a bigger fight that's happening behind the scenes. And I think the president, whom the state security agency sits in his office, is very much aware of that. And that's why I thought it was important for him to come out very strong and say, this is not going to be acceptable. I do hope, though, that when the inquiry starts its work, I hope that they're going to be fair in how they go about deciding on who gets suspended pending the outcome of the investigation. Because are they going to be looking at the allegations around the task team? Are they going to look at the allegations around who disbanded it? And if there are people who are
and even looking into Mkhwanazi himself,
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Are they going to be scared? Because have you seen the reports this morning? experts warning of, and this reminds me back around the July unrest when Jacob Zuma was about to be arrested. Experts are warning that there will be mayhem if Jacob Zuma gets arrested. And I hope we're not going down that road where now the Commission of Inquiry is not going to be able to do its work because it's scared of, if we go after Shadrach Sibiya, people will be mad. If we go after the National Commissioner or the KZN Commissioner,
All right.
What's going to happen?
All right, thank you so much. That's Clement Manyathela. I'm sure, as I said, you'll definitely have more of that tomorrow. I do worry about that Mkhwanazi factor and what happens. We've already started seeing people demonstrating in the name of General Mkhwanazi. I think that's something that he understood very well, is an instrument, a tool that he could utilize, and that's exactly what he did. He knows that the public loves him. I've got Nhlanhla from the MK party, Umkhonto Wesizwe party now. Nhlanhla, good evening to you. The president's sentiment, is the MKP impressed in any way with what the president put forward?
This is the most laughable, clownish, address that the president has ever done, or any president ever since the new dispensation or the new dawn of democracy, quite honestly. We're dealing with a country where South Africans are dying on a daily basis. Between 64 and 72. We're dealing with a situation where our community, our society is affected by a scourge of drugs. And then we're dealing with people being killed by virtue of their political affiliation, when the same constitution refers to you being able to associate yourself with any political. Now, let me just state the following. See, quite honestly, I'm sorry. Our president had an opportunity to come out bold, to bring South Africans, into confidence and say, I will not allow this in my watch. But the problem is that you have a president who himself is implicated in a Phala Phala report, and the Section 89 report that was done by the independent panel led by Justice Sanlengo, of which he himself has not seen a date in court. Now, that report, even remember, there's one that has been classified that was sitting with ITED. The same Senzo Ngunu, let's not forget, has held it, and kept it away from the public. And he has continuously said he's not going to release that and said that South Africans must write to him for him to release it. But it's because they know very well that whatever is in that report actually implicates the same president. Now, that's why a president can then make a move instead of firing the man. I mean, since when do ministers, since when do you put ministers on special leave? Are ministers appointed as per the Labor Relations Act? No. They're political appointees. They are
political appointees. You're very correct. What would you have done differently?
Well, the first thing is we would have fired the man.
Yeah.
And maybe I would have asked that as the president, in light of this, step down. Because really, if you're going to be if you're going to know very well that you've got a report that actually implicates you, the reality is that there are tentacles that lead to you. So the best thing to do, as we have seen with most leaders, if there's such cases or such situations in any other country, the president or the ministers, the prime ministers, they step down. Why is it in our country they don't do that? So what we are calling for is that there must be a arrest. Remember, Tshidi, there's 612 dockets that were being investigated by the political task team. And 436 have been arrested. 436 people have been arrested and charged. And out of those, by the way, there's 121 cases that were archived by CBA.
That's part of what this commission's job is to do. Nhlanhla, I'm going to leave you there.
54 of those are political, and we are concerned, and we believe that the same judiciary, by the way, is implicated, and you're now calling upon the same judiciary to now preside over a commission of inquiry, when even Mkhwanazi himself says that the judiciary is implicated in all of this.
All right, Nhlanhla. Sorry, Nhlanhla, that's Nhlanhla Ndlela there from the MK party. I mean, the question mark around the political killings task team is one that I did raise earlier on. It's one that I think will continue with us for some time, that particular task team. And I think that's one of those questions that will have to be dealt with. There's no way around it. I want to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll hear from the Good Party as well as Bossa.
When it comes to protecting your workforce, trust the workwear brand that has been protecting workers for over 150 years, Sweetall. Sweetall has overalls and uniform solutions for every industry, so your team is safe, comfortable, and ready to tackle any challenge. Visit our new Boksburg showroom, Shop A1, Atlas Road, Westwood, Boksburg. or go to sweetor.com today. Sweetor, we never let you down. Superior protective workwear since 1871.
South Africa leads the world's biggest economies, the G20, under the bold theme, solidarity, equality, and sustainability. But this is more than a slogan. It's a call to action for solidarity, uniting nations through shared purpose, equality, creating fair opportunities for all, sustainability, growing today without costing tomorrow. As G20 president, South Africa is focused on 3 key priorities: inclusive economic growth and jobs, food security for every table, and using artificial intelligence for sustainable innovation. South Africa, leading the G20, shaping a better world. A message by the GCIS.
Every switch you flip, every circuit you connect, every idea you spark starts with power. So why not express it your way? At AC/DC Express, we've got solar power to keep you running, tools to get the job done, lighting to set the mood, and automation to take you to the next level. Whatever you need, big or small, we've got the power to supply it. With stores nationwide, expert advice, and the widest range of electrical solutions, AC/DC Express powers your world. AC/DC Express, everything electrical.
Because this journey is better taken together.
Let's walk the talk. 702.
Welcome back. It's 8 minutes to 9 o'clock. Tshidi Madia here with you. We have a special broadcast, of course, following that announcement from the President Ramaphosa this evening, delivering a statement addressing the nation on the establishment of a commission of inquiry into allegations regarding law enforcement agencies. A lot of mixed reactions to the commission. A lot of people objecting to the idea of money being poured into the commission. But there's also been really interesting, I think, reaction to the idea of Professor Feroz Kachalia being appointed by the president to hold the fort while Minister Senzo Mkhunu remains on special leave for the as far as the investigations are concerned. Feroz Kachalia, of course, his background there, former MEC in Gauteng, he's a freedom fighter, he's somebody who's also part of academia, he's a law professor at Wits University. So that is somebody who the president has put up there. I am looking for your reactions. We want your input. 011-883-0702, 021-446-0567. You can send voice notes and WhatsApps to 072-702-1702. We are also speaking to different political parties, getting their views on the president's statements. I am also joined in studio by various guests. There's a lot going on today. I'm joined in studio by Professor Kidibone Paho. I've got Oren Singh from EWN's team as well. And on Zoom, I've got Professor Kagiso Poe, who's also been weighing in on what the president has had to say. I want to bring in the good party secretary General now, Brett Herron. Brett, good evening to you. People don't want commissions. People don't want to have somebody outside of cabinet. Goodness, some people don't even want the president to remain standing following tonight's address. Your take?
Good evening, Tshidi. Look, I think that the president's call to establish a commission of inquiry was the wrong one. The allegations made by General Mkhwanazi were explosive, they were detailed, they were supported by some evidence, they implicated the entire criminal justice system, and really required an independent, urgent criminal investigation and not a long drawn-out judicial commission of inquiry, which would in the end produce some reports which could be regarded as prima facie evidence, only then to have to be investigated by the law enforcement authorities in any event. So I think that the call for a commission of inquiry was the wrong one. What we really needed to hear, and the president did make reference, I think, to the body that should have been empowered to investigate this, and that's the SIU. The president referenced the good work that they've done, and I think they have public credibility. And they have the power in terms of the Prevention and Combating of Corrupt Activities Act, or the PRECA Act, to investigate all of the allegations made by Mkhwanazi. So I think the right call would have been an urgent criminal investigation by the SIU.
All right, thank you so much. That's Brett Herron. Brett is the Secretary General of the Good Party. I thought what was interesting, I'm not trying to find it in my notes, there is a part where he said that from the commission, it would be able to, I think, there's a line about how urgent the process needs to be, or and I don't know if you heard that as well, where it can immediately make recommendations for investigations so as to not allow too much time to lapse before these take action. Because part of what goes wrong with the commissions is that we wait for far too long. I want to bring in now Musi Maimane from BOSA, Build One South Africa, to also weigh in on that. I know Musi is not a fan of commissions, but Musi, the caveat there that the president has put in place that you have an opportunity to try and move swiftly. As soon as there are outcomes, they must move swiftly as far as prosecutions are concerned and investigations. Is that pushing the needle far enough? Is that satisfactory enough?
Not at all. Certainly, I think the broader issues of state capture and police capture must be investigated. And so in that instance, if the president has chosen to go with Deputy Chief Justice Nhlanhla to investigate that, that is all well and good. Except in this instance, we're dealing with an ongoing crisis here. Political murders are not stopping. Murder in the country isn't stopping. And in other words, you almost need, if you want to sober up the integrity of the issue, I want to urge that it should have been, in fact, an SIU and a criminal prosecution immediately. That where the funds were misdirected, that those be recuperated so that we can get back to the fight. The police are not going to sit around and watch a commission of inquiry whilst in fact work must be done, and therefore we must applaud what General Mkhwanazi is saying. And ultimately, in the light of the fact that the president felt it prudent to place on special leave Minister Mkhunu, I think he should have gone further. He should have fired Minister Mkhunu from cabinet and ultimately appoint somebody there, whether it's Mr. Kachalia, on a much more permanent basis. I have worked in an organization, we've seen government organizations where ultimately you've got acting people on the table. Leadership and command is crucial when it comes to the work of policing. So this piecemeal arrangement that is in the 6 months that is coming up now really will put our police in a serious, in a difficult position. And therefore, I would have asked for deliberate steps to be taken so that we can stabilize leadership and get to the bottom of the issue quicker.
All right, thank you so much. Musi Maimane, of course, is leader of Build One South Africa. I want to quickly bring in Dr. Chris de Kock, who is a crime expert. Doctor, thank you so much for your time. I keep asking people if the president has gone far enough. People are worried about the language. They felt that he didn't have the right posture or temperament to speak to the heart of what's going wrong in a country where we are worried about the crime figures. We're worried that we're not safe in and out of our homes. People are worried about the state of crime intelligence, even if it functions as it should in the international standards. Your thoughts about what's come from the president?
Well, I think the president, we're in a predicament. But I think there's a few good things and a few bad things. The first one is I think it's excellent that Minister or Professor Kachalia will be the minister. I think that's excellent. I know him very well, and I think he will be an excellent choice. I also think that the previous minister should be fired. I think he should just leave that position, and there should be no hope that he can return to that position. Even if he's found nothing is found against him, he's just tainted totally. I also think that the commission, I'm not so much against the commission, but I think 6 months is just not, it should be 6 weeks at most. I think they could focus on the allegations that Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi made. I also know General Mkhwanazi, and I think that allegations will be true, hopefully. And I think they should have just focused on those few allegations, or limit themselves to that, and not go on a whole witch hunt through the whole criminal justice system and correctional services and all of that. And I think 6 weeks would have been much more than enough for that.
All right. Thank you so much, Doctor. That's Dr. Chris de Kock weighing in very quickly on the president's utterances, remarks this evening. I want to go back to my guests just to give them a last bite as we wrap up. I am out of time. It's a quick squeeze on my end. Please forgive me. Let me start with you, Professor Kagiso. Your parting shots.
Simply that what is Einstein's definition of insanity? To do the same thing over and over. How many commissions of inquiries have we had? And maybe this is it. Maybe the peak of leadership is this, that we simply cannot, this political elite cannot address the problems that we're having. So for me, this is again Einstein's definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, and a missed opportunity as always.
Got it. Thank you so much. Arun Singh, your thoughts?
Tshidi, I can only hope that President Ramaphosa met with several people this week, including that of Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. I can only hope that there is some sort of parallel investigation currently underway and running. That's my only hope. But at the end of the day, we still need to bear in mind about the factionalism within SAPS. We still need to bear in mind that this is bigger than what's been put on the table here. And we can only hope that this commission can uncover a lot more and not just playing into one side of this faction within SAPS that's clear-cut.
And as you said earlier on, that we are expecting to hear from Police Commissioner Fani Masemola in the coming days. And I think in that part, on that end, we'll see what unfolds as far as SAPS is concerned from an operational point of view. Professor Pakgo, the last word comes to you. Your parting shots for us.
Tshidi, I think South Africans are very frustrated, and for the right reasons, that the president decided to choose the ANC over South Africa. And this is because he was clearly supposed to fire the minister, and we did not want to see the return of the minister. But my last point, which I think is quite important, is that we need to remember that police are the last line of defense for South Africa. So you see that when all institutional arrangements and interventions have failed, like the Home Affairs and the Immigration and the SARS and the State Security Agency at our ports, we now put a lot of pressure at our policing. So we are dealing with such kind of issues. Thank you, Tshidi.
All right, thank you so much. To all my guests this evening, thank you so much for joining us. I was in studio with Professor Kidiboni Pakgo. I had Arun Singh from EWN as well. And we also had Professor Kagiso Poe on the line. And thanks to all of you for participating, for tuning in and bearing with us. We kind of wait to see the next aspect of how the story unfolds. On my end, though, I'll be here for you on Prime Media nonetheless, guiding you and giving you my insights. I'm pretty sure I'll have more on this tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in.
This is EWN.